and welcome to All the Stitches. This is a channel where I talk about my quilting, knitting, needlework, and all kinds of crafty things. My name is Colleen, and I'm coming to you from the Lakes region of New Hampshire in the United States. Today is episode 17, which I'm calling a wintry mix because it's snowing out, and that is a term that the weather forecasters in New England use all the time this time of year, February and March. A wintry mix of snow and rain, but today is just plain snow. So it's a good day today to talk about some of the winter theme projects that I have hanging around this house. I'm going to do one more thing too, and that is that I'm going to announce the winners of the giveaway from my last episode, episode 16. So I'll do that first and then we'll proceed. But I have a lot of quilts that are hanging around the house, so instead of taking them down, I'm going to bring you to the quilts and tell you a little bit about them. And then I have a few items to show you right here as we sit. Well, the first order of business is to announce the giveaway winners. I did not have an overwhelming number of comments made to try to win the giveaway, but the three that I had, only three, the three that I had, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your comment, appreciate you watching and being a part of it. I do wish that more people would comment. I wish that more people would try to become our little community here of All the Stitches, but I can't control that. So I'm very grateful for those who have subscribed and for those that comment, and they tend to comment regularly, which is really a nice thing. I want to first announce the winner of the fabric. And the fabric was a set of 50 5-inch charm squares from Keepsake Quilting. They were all shades of green and very pretty. And the winner of that is someone who was the only person in the category of fabric to enter. And so I want to thank Lisa Ogg, she's your ideal subscriber. She watches every video, she comments, she shares what she's doing. And so Lisa, I'm really, really happy that you won this fabric, and I'm happy to send it to you. Lisa, I've created an email account for All the Stitches. And if you would please, when you have a moment, just send me an email at this email address, which is allthestitches21@yahoo.com. So send me an email address if you would, with a mailing address, and I'll be happy to send you the package of fabric. Lisa said, I use fabric for quilts, curtains, fabric stars, Christmas ornaments, hot pads, clothes, and many other things. A lot of these I give as gifts, and everyone loves what I made, and that brings joy to my life. Thank you, Lisa. I agree with all of that, what you said. I know you're a busy crafter like I am, and like so many of us are, and it kind of gets us through, doesn't it? So thank you, Lisa, very much. I appreciate you. I had two entries for the yarn, and that was this opal sock yarn and two little minis. And the two people that entered, they were Michelle Langdon and Barbara Cade. So I didn't have to use the number generator, did I? I put your names on, you probably can't see it. I put your names on a little Post-it note. I'm going to fold the Post-it notes. I'm going to stick them in my cup, and I'm going to draw your name right now. Okay? So the winner of the yarn is Barbara Cade. Barbara, I know you have a lot of yarn, but now you're going to have more, and I know where to find Barbara, so I will send this yarn to Barbara. So because I only had two people enter for the yarn, I decided to do something special for both of you. So Barbara, you won the yarn that I showed in the previous show, but Michelle Langdon, I also would like to send you a similar skein of yarn. And this is also an opal Selck yarn. It is pretty much the same. It is the same yarn as this one, and it has the same sort of variegated color through it. Michelle, if you want this yarn, please email me at the allthestitches21 at yahoo.com email address and let me know if you want it. If you don't want it, that's fine. Just let me know one way or another. But if you do want it, I'd be so happy to send you this because I am so appreciative of the people that did enter. So Michelle and Lisa, send an email with your mailing address and I'm happy to send them on. Thank you so much for taking part. I forgot to tell you what the others told me in their comments, so I'm going to do that now. Barbara said that knitting brings her joy by connecting with fellow knitters, fondling and choosing gorgeous yarns for each project, and of course, wearing my finished project and welcoming any compliments I might receive. I know Barbara for a fact that Barbara gets a lot of joy out of her knitting and her crafting in general, and that she does receive a lot of compliments for what she makes because she's a really good knitter. And then Michelle Langdon said, crocheting makes me happy. I feel joy and excitement at choosing my next project in yarn. I'm not the kind of person who likes to shop, but put me in the yarn aisle and I can spend an hour or so there, blissfully happy. I look forward to the time I get to crochet. It's my quarantine buddy. I love that. Who among us doesn't have a quarantine buddy in our quilting, in our knitting, in our cross stitching or needlework, in our crafting? That's why I wanted to send a gift to all of you because these comments were really lovely and I enjoyed reading them. Thank you. Well, sadly, nobody commented on the linen fabric and the little sheep virtue cross stitch pattern, which surprised me because I probably don't have a very large floss tube type audience because my shows are heavy in quilting and knitting and just a little bit of cross stitch. But all I can say is that's okay. I love this little pattern and I'm happy to keep it and make it myself someday. So I'm going to now take you on a little adventure I'll bring you to my winter quilts that are hanging. While I'm sitting here though, I will show you this little ornament that I made a couple of years ago. And I saw it first on Pinterest. So I just drew it out. I mean, it was simple enough to draw out and put it on wool and did a little hand applique or sort of a blanket stitch around the little happy snowman. And those are French knots. And while I'm still here, I wanted to show you a little favorite quilt of mine that I have hanging in my sewing room. It says, Winter, a time to gather friends. And several years ago, I made this, a quilt like this for each of my Wednesday night group of quilters that we hung out together every Wednesday night. So that was a Christmas gift for everybody. But I hang this and I think of those days and I think of how winter is a time to gather friends, and hopefully that day will come along soon. This is a pattern from Nancy Halvorsen, of course. I keep saying that over and over, don't I? It came from her book, Easy Does It for Winter. See, here it is right here. And while I'm sitting here, I'm going to show you a quilt I don't have hanging or don't have a place for it, but it is a Redwork quilt, winter ice skaters and sledders and snowman building and skiers. And I put little mittens on the corners. So it's just Redwork, embroidery with red floss, patchwork machine patchwork around it, and I machine quilted this. It's from a pattern by Betty Alderman Designs called Redwork Winter. You can see that she designed it with a crazy quilt type of look around it, with a lot, with more embroidery. I think by the time I got to the border, I decided, well, I didn't think I really wanted to continue with that. So I just kept it simple, and I just used some leftover scraps and pieced them around. I'm going to start bringing you around to show you my winter quilts, and we'll start with this one behind me, which is Warm Winter Blessings. It's a pattern by Primitive Gatherings, designed by Lisa Bongean. Here's the pattern. And it is hand applique with wool. The snowmen are wool. The dark blues in the backgrounds are cotton. And it was really quite a joy to make. I carried these around with me for, a trip to New York City with a friend, and that long Amtrak train ride, which was delightful to sit and visit with a friend and do a little stitching along the way. So some good memories associated with this. Here's the pattern for the Snow Happens quilt or table runner. It's by Bird Brain Designs. You can see it's called Snow Happens. For the winter snowman came from this book, again a Nancy Halvorsen book. You can see there's the 4 seasons within this book, and of course I made them all. But the book is Cottage Charms by Nancy Halvorsen, From Art to Heart. This is a great book. I have to say, I've made several of the little quilts from this book. This quilt was made as a block of the month. It's a pattern from Country Threads. They were a quilt shop out of Iowa. I never visited them, but I was a big fan of them online, and I have many of their books and patterns, and I inserted my own Labrador there. Doing it as a block of the month was a lot of fun. I got a little package every month with the fabric I needed and the block design, and it was really an enjoyable quilt to make. Hand applique, machine pieced, and machine quilted. I've already shown you and talked about this Pinehurst quilt, patterned by Sitar from Laundry Basket Quilts. And we'll just take a quick peek at this quilt, which I have shown you before in one of my Christmas episodes this year, but I hang it all winter. I don't think it's real Christmassy. To me, it's all about winter, and it's called Winter Celebrations from a book by Janet Selck. I hang this quilt every winter because I think it just gives sort of a snowy winter look to it. And I did this in a workshop a number of years ago, and as you can see, I learned about tessellating designs when I made this quilt in the workshop, because the shapes just form into the next shape and form into that, it forms into the next pattern. So into the next star or snowflake, whatever you want to call it. I have a little, I don't know what you'd call it, a little embroidery quilting type mix. This came as a pattern, and I don't have any information about who the pattern maker was, but it actually came with those little mittens. They're just these little kind of stiff cotton mittens, but I'm thinking you could replicate them pretty easily by making miniature mittens. And of course it says, snowflakes, mittens, hot cocoa, and sledding. I doubt I'll get to make another video before Valentine's Day, so I thought I'd show you a little Valentine's project. And this came from a Quilt Guild challenge a few years ago. And I believe the challenge was something like use other materials. I don't remember the details of it. So what I did was I used a base of wool felt. I think it's just felt. And I put the red fabric in the background. I cut out black, another piece of felt for the black heart. And then I used a paper doily, like you would put in, with baked goods or something. I stitched that. You can see I stitched that around, and I stitched it to the back little squares. And then I had found these buttons that have all the little, they're like the Valentine candies. So I just tied those on with ribbon. And that was my mixed media Valentine's quilt. And now it's time for something old. So in keeping with the theme, my something old is a Valentine quilt. This was, I couldn't tell you the year. It was in the 90s, so it's not an antique. Not yet. But it was also a Quilt Guild challenge. And once again, I've long forgotten what the challenge was, but it could have been holidays. Don't remember. I pieced these hearts, split them in half, and I hand appliqued it down. I also hand appliqued the swag border, and I hand quilted it. I think it's the only Valentine quilt I have, so it's the only one that will be hanging pretty soon. Well, I hope you enjoyed the Wintry Mix tour. And if you did, please hit the thumbs up, hit like. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And please leave a comment below. If you have anything to say to this small community of ours, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to read your comments. I'd love to know what you're working on, what you're doing this winter. And hopefully I'll be back soon. I have a lot of other ideas for these videos. As long as you're looking at them, I'll keep making them. If you stop looking at them, I can't guarantee that I'll continue to talk to myself in this screen. But at any rate, I hope all of your stitches bring joy. And thanks again, Lisa, Barbara, and Michelle.